Alright guys, so I'm doing a little bit of spring cleaning here now that, well, I guess spring is almost over. We're almost into summer now, but just trying to clear up some clutter here in my shop and just get rid of some stuff that I bought kind of either on a whim or stuff that got put on the back burner or stuff that I've had sitting around collecting dust for a while that I know I'm never going to have the time to get to. Just with my work schedule, I'm running over to New Jersey multiple days a week and getting home much later in the evenings than I would like, so unfortunately I don't have the kind of time that I thought I would to be able to work on the projects I've acquired. But I do have some big plans for the future of my YouTube channel and my collection, so don't worry, I'm not going to let you guys down. I did tell you a couple months ago that my goal by the end of this year is to get my grandfather's John Deere 60 up here to start the restoration project officially, and I'm still working towards that goal. That hasn't changed, so we still have about 6 months, and I've been selling some of my stuff, some of my smaller equipment here and there, just to have some extra cash laying around. But the realization dawned on me that I'm just not going to have time to get to all these projects I've acquired. I kind of went out on a whim, buying spree last year and bought the International Cub there. Just because I got it through work and I thought that was kind of cool. And then I bought the H unexpectedly, and quite honestly, I just haven't had the time or energy to put into them that I thought I would. So I figured rather than letting them sit here and collect dust, I would send them down the road. I'm not selling out. Let me just make that clear. I am not selling out. I just need to make some room. So like I said, if you're in that area, if you're in my area and you know anybody who may be interested in anything you see here, please feel free to spread the word. I'm trying to get rid of some of this stuff as quick as I can. I will be clear, the 2 Cub cadets are not leaving. Those are staying, but basically anything on the concrete is going to be sold, so anything from here to back. So I figured I'd just give you a quick walkthrough of some things I'm looking to sell and a couple pieces that I don't think I've made any videos on in the past. So first up, I have a John Deere 14 SB commercial walk-behind mower. It's a 1996 model. I bought this about 2 years ago when I was still living in New Jersey, and obviously with the yard we had there at my parents' house, we don't do a lot of push mowing. We really just mow a small strip of grass inside the fence by the pool. And my dad has an old Honda walk-behind mower, and I've always liked that Honda, but I wanted to try one of these old aluminum deck Deere mowers, and I got a pretty good deal on this one. And it's clean. It's not beat up. It seems to have fairly low hours. It has the FC 150V Kawasaki engine, which is just about bulletproof. 4-cycle, not 2-cycle, but I'd say this is about on par with the old 2-cycle lawn boys. And I can tell this one hasn't had a whole lot of use because the gauge wheels are not worn. The rear drive wheels typically wear out on these, and this is definitely a cleaner example. And it's a later one with the black handlebars. The earlier ones had chrome handlebars, and then the very first ones were actually green in color instead of silver. Now this mower also comes with the side discharge chute, even says John Deere on it, and at the moment I have a mulch plug installed if you'd like to mulch the grass. I don't have a bag for it, but I do have the bag frame. The original bag was torn pretty bad, so I got rid of it, but that can be purchased through John Deere still. Great thing about one of these units is that John Deere does still sell most of the parts for them. The only flaw I noticed with it is there's one little hole in the deck here, but if you're good with an aluminum, if you're able to weld aluminum, that wouldn't be hard to patch. It may also need the carburetor cleaned just from sitting. I just got it out of my parents' shed last week. I started it up for the first time in a little over a year, and it runs all right, but it probably could use the carburetor cleaned. It has the 5-speed transmission and a blade clutch, which both work really well. The blade clutch especially is handy to have, so you can engage and disengage the blades as you need. But a lot of people will tell you these 14 SBs and just the aluminum deck Deere mowers in general were some of the best walk-behind mowers built. It also even has the original John Deere badging up front. Those usually get broken and fall off. But like I said, this one doesn't seem to have had much use. So I'm looking to get $250 or best offer for this. So if you know anybody looking, this would look good, in a commercial fleet or in a collection. You could use it for either. Up next, I know I haven't shown this one in a video, and that's because I bought this one on a whim just to save it from a certain death. This is a 1971 New Holland S-12 garden tractor that I got off of one of my customers. He bought a new Kubota BX 2680, and he had this machine sitting in his barn. And the story I got was that his father had it since it was basically new, or close to new anyway. And it had been out in Minnesota when they were out in Minnesota. Then it came back east to Pennsylvania, and they really just mowed and plowed snow with it, you know, for the last 45 years or so. And his father passed away. The thing just sat, and he wanted it out of his garage. So I got this S-12 and a bunch of attachments, which I'll show you here in a minute. And you can see this is a overall fairly, you know, well taken care of machine, fairly low hours. I don't know how many hours are on it because it doesn't have an hour meter, but I know they did take very good care of it because the paint is still in nice original condition. And in 1985, they put a replacement long block Kohler K301 engine in it, which still runs, you know, runs very well. Doesn't seem to use any oil or leak. It may need the carburetor cleaned again. I think that may just be because it was sitting, but it will start right up and it will run. Sometimes it just doesn't like to idle, but overall it's not in bad shape. I did put a new battery in it and had to replace one of the battery cables. And then I just kind of went over it real quick, cleaned it up, and gave it a good servicing, and it's basically ready to be put to work. It did come with a practically new old stock Ariens 48-inch mower deck that they had bought as a replacement for the original deck in ’95. I just sold that a couple days ago. But yeah, this was their main tractor for years and years and years, and as you can see, they took very good care of it. Now you may notice that it looks like an Ariens tractor, and that's because, well, originally these tractors were built by Sperry Rand in Belleville, Pennsylvania, up until 1973 or 74, I believe. And then at some point, Ariens bought the line out, and then they started painting them orange. So they basically took over the design from Sperry Rand New Holland, and these early New Holland units are getting harder and harder to find. I can't say that I've seen many of them, let alone in this condition. So this is basically the equivalent of an Ariens, or what eventually became an Ariens, and you just don't see many of these. I mean, this is definitely a survivor, to say the least. And the neat thing about the New Holland is that they had this kind of experimental tilt steering column, which I've heard was prone to failure because the ball joint wears out on the shaft, but this one seems pretty good. I've had it running around the yard here a little bit, and I've tested the tilt steering. It seems to work the way it should. I greased everything, and everything on the tractor seems to work just fine. And it's hydrostatic too. It has the hand control on the fender there, which is a little bit different. It takes a little getting used to, but everything works on it. The PTO clutch works. I mowed the grass with it a little bit before I sold the deck. The lights all work. And I think this will make a nice addition to somebody's collection. It just needs to go to a good home. The guy that I got it from was going to just send it to the auction, where it would have, it could have met some kind of fate out here in Amish country, because you know, when some of the guys out here buy these tractors cheap at auction, they end up living a life of abuse and neglect. So I didn't want to see that tractor. I didn't want to see this tractor go through that. So I figured I would save it from them. So I'm asking $850 your best offer for this, and like I said, I got it with a bunch of attachments, so I'll show you what I got with it. So to my understanding, these were all the attachments that came with this New Holland tractor that the previous family had for it, basically since they bought it. So I have an early Parker lawn sweeper in really nice condition. The only thing wrong with it is the canvas is torn, but it is the original Parker canvas, as you can see. It probably wouldn't take much to sew it back up, but everything seems to work well on it. This is a much better and much, you know, more durable machine than the Brindley or Agrifab lawn sweepers that they sell now. It even has caster wheels, which I thought were kind of neat. And I know, I don't know why, but I do know that there is a market for these. There are some guys that like to collect these, so I figured rather than scrap it or, you know, part it out or whatnot, see if I'd like to see if it could go to a good home. So I'm asking $100 for this. I also got a almost like new Ariens 54-inch snow blade with the angling linkage. Like I said, they did plow snow with this tractor, but it doesn't look like the snow plow or snow blade was used a whole lot. It's an Ariens blade, like I said. It's not a New Holland blade. It'd be cool if it was a New Holland blade, but that tells me that this one's a little bit newer, and it probably hasn't seen a whole lot of use. Still has the cutting edge and everything, and I mean, I can't flip it over here as it sits, but the paint on the front of the moldboard looks great. So I'd like to get $200 for this if you know anybody interested, or if you're interested. It also came with this old Bolens cart. Don't mind the flat tire. I just have to air it up. It'll air right up. The tires do hold air. It's just been sitting in the same spot for several months now and gone through a couple of temperature fluctuations. But like I said, it's a Bolens cart, and it has the original Bolens sticker on it. And what's cool about this is it actually has a wooden tailgate. It just slides in and out. And that is the original wooden tailgate as far as I can tell. I mean, it's got typical wear and tear inside the cart as far as paint, but overall, not bad for the age, I think. And it dumps the way it should. So this would look good behind a Bolens tractor or any tractor. I'd like to get $200 for this if I can. And along with the tractor, I also got a galvanized steel weight box. It looks to be homemade. I don't think I've ever seen a galvanized weight box for any specific brand, like a factory one. But it looks like somebody welded this all together and did a fairly decent job. And it's built heavy too. I mean, the weight box itself is a good few pounds of weight. So you could load this up with bricks or with stone or concrete or whatever you want. You could mount it up. It could be modified to fit any tractor. So I'd like to get $50 for that if I can. Next on the chopping block is this John Deere 38-inch mower deck. This is the newer style 2-blade mower deck. And what's interesting about this is it's the only mower deck that was designed to be interchangeable between the 200 and the 300 series tractors. So right now, as it sits, it's actually set up for a 300 series, like a 316 Onan or a 318 or 322. But with the proper draft arms, if you switch the draft arms out, it can be made to fit a 200, 208, 210, 212, 214, 216. Like I said, it's the only John Deere mower deck that was designed to be interchangeable between the two. And it's just a matter of changing the draft arms and the PTO belt. But this one's in okay condition. I mean, it has seen better days. I think it would make a good rough cut deck. It's been cracked and re-welded in several spots, as you can see. One nice thing about this deck is these are actually very good mulching decks because they're only 2 blades, but they have a deep shell to them, so they move a lot of air. And as you can see, it does have high lift blades installed. Overall, it is a pretty solid deck, but like I said, I mean, it has been cracked and re-welded, and I actually had to cut this out here because at some point this was bent inward and the blade hit it and sliced it, and rather than try and weld it back up, there was so much material missing that I just cut it out. So that would have to be patched up again. But other than that, it is pretty solid. It does come with the 1 spindle cover and the discharge chute, which is fairly hard to find, especially the steel one. Most of these later decks you see that had this design, this shell design, had a plastic discharge chute, but this one has a steel one. And I did replace the blade-to-blade belt here. This belt here, the primary belt, is fairly new as well within the last year or so. It just needs some TLC, but I think, if you have a 200 or 300 series Deere, you're looking to downsize as far as a mower deck goes. If you're looking for a good mulching mower deck, this would be it. I wouldn't be afraid to use this as a rough cut deck either. So, looking to get $150 or best offer for that one. Next up on the chopping block is the 1941 John Deere H. I bought this last July and was intending to just kind of use it as a practice, you could say, for working on 2-cylinder tractors to help me prepare for working on my grandfather's John Deere 2-cylinder. But again, it was one of those things that I just kind of bought on impulse, and it made for a nice little road trip. But I just, like I said, with work and everything, I just haven't had the time to even look at it, let alone work on it. So I figured rather than let it sit here and collect dust even longer, I'd like to send it down the road and send it to a good home. This is a restoration project that was never finished. The gentleman who was working on the restoration passed away before he got to finish it, from what I understand. And from what I've been told, the engine was bored 125 over, which is the largest you can bore these out. And with that, it had new pistons and rods put in and had the crankshaft ground down. And like I said, it was a restoration project, so you can see it has had the paint touched up in some spots. If you really wanted to get picky with it, you could, sand everything down or sandblast it all and finish the paint job the right way. But I just think this is interesting how you can see all the different layers of green paint it's had over the years, and it just makes you think, you know, this tractor's over 80 years old, and every one of those layers of paint tells a story. I mean, you can see 3 layers of decals here, or decals from my Canadian friends watching. But there's something about that patina. I mean, it's not necessarily original patina, but it still tells a story. You know, 80 years ago, who was running this thing? You know, what kind of farm, what kind of family did it come from? If this thing could talk, it would have a lot of stories to tell. And like I said, it would have been cool to get this running and just kind of putz around with it, but at the end of the day, my grandfather's tractors that I'm, you know, working on restoring are worth way more to me. But it looked like, at least from what I could see, it looked like he started at the front and was working his way back. The front end was all rebuilt, the front pedestal, the wheels were sandblasted and painted, and the hubs looked like they were rebuilt as well, and brand new front tires too. The frame rails were painted, had the carburetor professionally rebuilt and repainted, and then, like I said, the engine was bored out and put back together with all new gaskets and whatnot. And it looks like the intake and exhaust manifold may have been reworked as well. I'm not sure if that was a repop or they just redid the original. But it's all there. I mean, it is basically complete. I have the rest of the parts to put it back together in this crate here. I have the shutters. These need to go back on. I have the upper water pipe, as you can see here, and then a rebuilt magneto for it, which needs to go back on. Old Wyco, which is pretty cool. And then in the box there are a bunch of new old stock parts. Just little nitty-gritty stuff like the gaskets and the couple of seals and a new set of spark plug wires, because you can see these old ones are pretty well roached. And I also have the spark plug covers for it as well. Those still need to be painted. But yeah, like I said, it wouldn't be a bad restoration project for somebody. It does need some odds and ends, though. I also should mention the rear tires are not new, but they have lots of tread left on them, so you shouldn't have to worry about that. This tractor also did come with a Model H1 plow, and it has all of the linkage for that, the lift, and then the the controls for adjusting the plow. It is a flat back. It does not have a PTO. It just has the basic swinging drawbar. That's pretty much all there is to it. And like I said, it is there's not a whole lot to these little 2-cylinder tractors. It wouldn't take much to get this one running, but I just wish I had more time to get to it. Maybe I'll add an H to the collection someday, but I feel like this was just an impulse buy that, well, just that, an impulse buy. I probably would have been better off not buying it personally, but regardless, I would like to see it go to a good home. So I am asking $22.50 or best offer for this one. Here's that Model H1 plow I had mentioned for the H. This plow is specifically designed to go on the Model H, and I guess you could call it a mid-mount or semi-mount plow. Just a giant one bottom, really. And these are getting fairly hard to find. I have had a couple people asking me if I would sell it separate from the tractor. I don't think I'm ready to go that route yet. I would prefer to sell them together, because I do know that H was a dedicated plow tractor most of its life, and I'd hate to separate them. But as you can see, the plow is mostly complete. I do have the mounting frame and the hanger and everything for it here. Everything you need to bolt it up to the tractor, as well as the linkages. So this would shine up really well, I think. It has nice original patina to it, or you could paint it up, restore it. This goes with the H. Like I said, I'm not ready to sell it separately at this time, but don't see many of these, and it would be cool to put this on the tractor and use it for plow days or whatnot. That was my intention, originally, but plans change. So, and last on the chopping block is the 1979 International Cub. I've had this tractor for just about a year now. It came in on trade at the dealer where I work, and I figured, you know what, why not? I work at an International Harvester dealership, and I just wanted something a little bit bigger than the typical garden tractors I was used to, so this was the first one I bought. And overall, the tractor's in pretty good condition. It came from a farm where it pulled wagons for years and years, so it lived a pretty easy life. And being in 1979, it's the last year that these were made. It's actually if I remember correctly, the 520th to last one built. And these last couple of years were what they called the long stripe, where they changed the decal. It has a decal kind of like a Cub Cadet 149. It looks like an oversized 149, but like I said, this tractor lived a pretty easy life pulling trailers. I haven't done much to it. I mean, I've taken it to a couple shows, and I used to ride it up and down the roads here. The only thing that I'm still working on with it is the carburetor is out to get rebuilt, as you can see. These later Cubs used a Zenith carburetor, while the earlier ones had a carburetor that was designed and built by International Harvester. Unfortunately, all the Chinese replacements you buy are a copy of the International Harvester carburetor, and well, I don't condone putting Chinese aftermarket parts on your engines. It just seems like in this day and age with the crap fuel that the gas stations sell, rather than go to the headache of rebuilding or trying to save your original carburetor, you'd almost be better off buying a cheap aftermarket replacement. But this is one of the weird situations where the only aftermarket carbs you can get are the International Harvester style, and those have a smaller throat, or I should say smaller intake. Some of the linkages are a little bit different, and the fuel inlet is in an entirely different spot. So to make this carburetor work, I would have had to go with a smaller diameter air intake hose, and I would have had to basically flare my own fuel line because this original fuel line here is not routed correctly. And I truthfully just did not have the desire to do that. I want to try and keep it as original as I can. So I sent the original carburetor out to get rebuilt professionally. I figure I'd rather, instead of taking the gamble, trying to clean it out myself and remove years and years and years worth of residue buildup from crappy gas, I would send it out to somebody who is a little bit more familiar with them. And I guess I have to send this back as well because this isn't going to fit without modification. So like I said, the only thing I'm waiting on right now is for the carburetor to come back. Other than that, I mean, it is basically ready to go. It had all the fluids changed right before I got it, and had a new battery put in it last year. It's a Deca lawn and garden battery, but it seems to work all right. And it's set. The wheels are set out in the wide position, so I don't know if they ever did use it for cultivating or whatnot. But you could set it up for whatever you want to do. These were like the original compact tractor back in the day, and they have the offset operators platform designed for cultivating. This also has the rear PTO, which can be, I mean, it's not a 540 PTO, so it's not ideal, but these do run a mid-mount mower pretty well. So if you wanted to put like a Woods belly mower on it, you could do that. And they're just fun little tractors to have. It's like a Cub Cadet on steroids, basically. But this is, I guess I should say it's the other way around. The Cub Cadet was a spin-off of this basic tractor here. And like I said, it is a pretty nice tractor for its age. Mostly original paint. It seems to have lived a pretty easy life. And if you wanted to restore it, I'm not going to stop you. It would be a pretty easy project, I think. But once I get the carburetor back on it, it will be ready to go. So I like to get $2,000 for this one. So there you have it. Those are all the pieces I'm looking to sell right now. Let me just make myself clear once again. I am not selling out. I am not getting out of the hobby. Sometimes you just have to make sacrifices to make room for bigger and better things that are yet to come. And like I said, what's coming is going to be a secret, but it's worth more to me than any of these pieces of equipment here will ever be worth. And all I'll say about it is you can't put a price on sentimental value. So if any of you guys are interested in anything that I've shown in this video, or you may have a friend or family member looking for anything like this, feel free to reach out to me through email. My email is listed on my YouTube page under the About section. You can reach me there, or if you're friends on Facebook with me, you can shoot me a message through Facebook. I'm looking to get some of this stuff moved out of here, sooner rather than later, because it is spring. I've got to do some spring cleaning, and I just need to free up the space. And truthfully, I don't need to have the added stress of, a bunch of projects sitting around taking up space that I'll never get to. So, like I said, if any of this stuff is of interest to you, feel free to send me an email or send me a Facebook message, and I'd be glad to work with you. I'm located in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, and now's the time to buy. So if you want projects, or if you want, if you want collectible pieces of equipment, I got them. So thanks for watching, everybody. I appreciate the support. Just bear with me for the next couple months while I try and rearrange and prepare for what's yet to come. And I promise what will be coming to this channel will be, in my opinion anyway, will be much more exciting than anything you see here. So just bear with me. But thanks for watching, guys, and just trying to get some spring cleaning done. So feel free to reach out to me if you're interested, and I'd love to work with you. Have a good one, guys. Thanks for watching.